Hello, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for our webinar today, How to Save Hours on Merchant Monitoring in 2021. We've been chatting with a lot of folks in the payments, risk, and compliance space this year, and probably the number one comment we get is how time intensive their merchant monitoring solution is. So we want to address that issue head on today. And in the interest in saving you time, this webinar is just a quick half hour, but stay through to the end because we have a special offer for you then. With us today is Martin Hugendijk, our technical sales manager and one of LegitScript's subject matter experts. Martin, good morning.
Good morning, David. Hi, everyone.
Hi, and I'm David Califf, Communications and PR Manager. Both of us have worked on the operations side of things, so we have experience as analysts in monitoring and investigating merchants. If you have any questions as we go along today, type them in the questions tab you should see on your screen, and we'll try to get to them either as we go along or at the end of our talk as time allows. Most of you have probably heard of LegitScript already and the far-reaching work we do, not just in the payments community, but with major internet and e-commerce platforms, federal agencies, registrars, and more. Our goals are big. We envision an internet built on trust, and we believe we can achieve it. The internet has amazing potential as a force for good, but we also know exactly how dangerous it is. Transaction laundering, illicit gambling, hate groups, dangerous drugs are just some of the things our analysts see on a daily basis. And with our broad visibility across payments and internet ecosystems, one thing has always been clear: algorithm-only monitoring solutions just can't keep up. How do we know this? Well, in part because you've told us. You see, we've spent the past year talking to professionals in the payments, risk, and compliance industry, to our current clients, and to many others in the industry. Some of the best feedback we got was from our payments, risk, and compliance benchmarking report. And if you haven't read it yet, you can download it at legitscript.com/benchmark2020. We heard directly from you and your peers about pain points in compliance and merchant monitoring, and so much of it was around the time your teams were spending on monitoring, even when you had a merchant monitoring solution in place. And a large part of that stems from the limitations of mostly or partially or mostly automated solutions. Automation and algorithms play an important role in a merchant monitoring solution, but if you're going to do merchant monitoring right, that's really just the beginning. Complete automation is an incomplete solution. From all of our surveys and discussions with you this year, two important themes around merchant monitoring began to emerge. First, automation cannot easily address the greatest challenges that the payments, risk, and compliance teams face. In our benchmarking report, we asked people about their greatest challenge in detecting, managing, monitoring, and remediating merchant risk in their portfolio. And what did they say? 1/3 or more of your peers indicated that transaction laundering and problematic marketing claims for merchants in highly regulated industries are the biggest risks. Transaction laundering because it is so difficult to detect, and problematic claims because they're so complex and hard to keep track of. The thing is, automated merchant monitoring solutions are horrible at addressing those two challenges. So why would you employ an automated solution if it isn't going to solve your biggest problems? Our second finding is around the data quality of merchant monitoring service providers, or MMSPs as we're calling them. We asked participants about their satisfaction with their merchant monitoring solution, and we got a mix of both critical and positive feedback. The overall score was a moderate 7.9 out of 10, which leaves a lot of room for improvement. So we gave folks an opportunity to tell us why they were unsatisfied. First, they said that they were tired of what we call data dumps. Whatever algorithm your merchant monitoring service provider uses flags everything under the sun. And so you're getting dozens, even hundreds of notifications a day. Now, this would be helpful if each of those flags were actually problematic, but a huge percentage of them end up being false positives. And so your team spends hours and hours going through the list yourself, or you risk terminating a merchant who's done nothing wrong. And if you terminate a merchant unnecessarily, then your merchant monitoring solution is actually costing you more money than what you pay them in lost revenue. Similarly, folks are frustrated by meaningless notifications. You may go to your dashboard or spreadsheet to view notifications, but most of them are so vague as to be effectively meaningless. A lot of them may get classified as other or undefined, and even the ones that do get categorized may not be of much use because you don't know why they have been flagged. Take, for example, a website that has been flagged as high risk for supplements. You won't get any additional information about why it has been flagged, so you're stuck with the work of sifting through potentially hundreds of supplements on a website to try to figure out if one or more of them are problematic in some way. It doesn't make sense, and again, it takes you hours. Our takeaway from all of this: the industry has grown so accustomed to subpar merchant monitoring that we don't know we should expect better. You don't know to ask for a solution that is more accurate in its review, more detailed in its notifications, and more accessible as far as both usability and access to real life human beings. And this isn't just conjecture on our part, it's backed up by what folks have said in our benchmarking report. As I mentioned, respondents rated their merchant monitoring solution moderately high, while at the same time reporting frustration with false positives. This is the complacency that the industry is suffering from. Now, here's where LegitScript comes in. Whatever your pain points are, LegitScript can help because we're different. How are we different? In a lot of ways, really. We've built a solution that addresses the very frustrations your teams are dealing with and help you solve your biggest problems. Martin, share a bit about how our solution is different.
Yeah, thanks, David. And for anybody that's listening in, I would really encourage you to pick up a copy or download a copy, rather, of our benchmarking report. It was an industry-wide initiative where we went out to PayFacs, ISOs, banks, and really asked them about, just in general, their biggest challenges with merchant monitoring in the industry and compliance issues. And some of these findings are presented here, but they go way beyond that. So it's just an interesting read for anyone. But that being said, though, several of these themes that we heard the industry actually conveying in this study are things that LegitScript actually provides a significant difference in. And the first thing that we do differently and can save you hours on merchant monitoring is that, well, where other vendors of merchant monitoring rely fully on automated solutions, LegitScript actually really relies on the human level investigative analysis. So we have big data, we have algorithms, but we don't stop there. We actually have a team of human level investigative analysts that go way beyond what a machine can possibly look for. So of course, do we look at a merchant website? For sure. But we go beyond that. Is the merchant website maybe fine? Sure, but is there a trail of fraudulent activity going on the merchant's Instagram feed? Is the merchant registered to do business in California, but their business registration is in Pennsylvania? The domain name, the website registration may be in Cyprus. So we investigate way deeper to the extent that a computer system can. We look for contact information, data point connections. Oftentimes we see that merchant phone numbers or merchant descriptors are associated with negative complaints from consumers that say that this particular merchant is involved in scams or negative option billing and hooking people into ongoing subscriptions. So we look at a merchant from a holistic level. We have algorithms and systems in place that help us quickly narrow down into where the analysts need to look at. But we go way beyond that. And instead of leaving you to do the work, we actually do the work for you to go way beyond the merchant website in and of itself, and really try to identify that non-compliance that may not be directly visible. So what are the consequences or the effects of that? Well, that human level approach has a few significant benefits. So first of all, it leads to what we call actionable intelligence. Whenever you receive a notification from LegitScript, it essentially has three big components. First of all, by the time you receive anything from us, it's fully accurate. Any notification that we send out is reviewed by at least 2 analysts. So when you receive notifications from us, you can trust that that notification is going to be relevant for you because it's been reviewed by a human analyst and we don't send you anything that is not relevant. Second of all, whenever we do point out a violation, we don't leave you to figure out where to find that violation on a merchant website. We would point you directly to the place where you can verify that the violation is actually going on. Or we've identified a data point connection that basically verifies that the violation is going on elsewhere besides the merchant website. And then lastly, we also provide a detailed notification and explanation of what the violation in question is. Does it violate Visa and MasterCard policy? Does it violate applicable law? Is there a particular statute from the FTC or the FDA that the merchant is operating in violation of? We really want to take that work off of your hand, to take out the guessing work and really give you an informed analysis of what's going on, why it's relevant to you, and what action you probably want to take. Essentially, we want to put you in a position to take our notification and have it ready to be something that you can action on your end, whether that's to clear the notification or to terminate the merchant or give them a warning or however you see fit. Second of all, and maybe to drill into that a little deeper, is how do we actually notify and what does that look like in practice? Well, we don't have the time in this webinar to go into our portal in detail, but just to give you a snapshot is that our solution comes in 2 forms. You can either connect to our portal, and that's a plug and play solution. You upload your merchants and off you go. You're monitoring the next day. Or alternatively, you can connect as well to our API, and that really automates that uploading of merchants altogether and has that instantaneous connection. But regardless of what route you take, you basically see all of the merchant details that come from underwriting, come from your merchant portfolio on the left-hand side, the merchant descriptors, the MID, the MCC code, etc. And then all of the notifications and all of the information that comes back from LegitScript to you on the right-hand side. We provide a content label. If there's a violation in question, what category is it in? Is it something that infringes IP, intellectual property rights? Is it online gambling? Is it pharmaceuticals? What is the level of that violation? Is it a tier 1 violation, meaning there's a direct BRAM or GBPP violation or a case of confirmed transaction laundering that is going on here? Immediate termination recommended. And then we provide that detailed analysis note. Now, we would never, provide you a whole page, so to speak. We do want to make it concise, but that note, as I said earlier, is that specific detail that is quickly absorbable or ingestible for your team to digest and then to action. So we want to make it concise, but then make it accurate, point directly to that violation, point directly to the merchant website where you can verify it, and explain what the legality is and what action we recommend. I think you just skipped one slide, David. Okay, and so essentially the second effect of that is that it actually saves you a lot of time, not just to take off that work off of your hands to reinvent the wheel and figure out what to do with these notifications, but we actually cut down on the number of notifications that you get. And to put it in a different word, we cut down on the noise that you're receiving on a daily basis. So basically, what we want to do is we intentionally want to provide you fewer notifications, but just give you those notifications that you actually need to know about, whether that's a violation of your prohibited policy or your terms and conditions, stuff that may not be necessarily illegal, but just things that you don't want to see in your portfolio, or business verticals that you don't support, or, as I said earlier, actual BRAM or GBBP violations. Whenever it gets to you, regardless of how it comes to you, you can count on that any single report or any single review we send your way is fully accurate. And any notification that you see here will be relevant to your team. One other factor as well is that, sometimes we talk to people in the industry and we say, hey, how often do you receive notifications or reports from your merchant monitoring service provider? And that response really varies. Some people receive a persistent monitoring on a day-to-day basis, but sometimes we also hear stories about people saying, well, we upload our merchants once at the beginning of the month, and then after 30 days, we basically get the results back. Or, after a week, we will receive the results back. Now, LegitScript doesn't do it that way. We provide real-time reporting. It's an ongoing process, an ongoing review that LegitScript provides on an ongoing basis. We look at the merchants in your portfolio. Scans run every single day. Merchants are constantly reviewed and then re-reviewed as changes are detected in the merchant website or the merchant details. As soon as we find out any violation, we let you know. So as soon as we know, we're not going to make you wait a week. We're not going to make you wait 30 days. As soon as we pick up on a violation, we let you know, because of course, especially in these days of transaction laundering and GBBP violations, you can't afford to wait 30 days to receive a notification about a BRAM violation, because by that time you may already be involved in a $25,000 fine from MasterCard. So we want to really provide that real-time and on-the-go reporting. Now, the final point there is that we are there for you. So a phrase that we use often at LegitScript is that we're not a software. Rather, we're a service. We have a dedicated team of analysts that is dedicated to looking out for your portfolio. If there's anything unclear, if there's anything that you need more information on, if there's any suspicious activity that you need us to drill deeper in and want to notify us about, you can contact us, you can call us, you can email us. There's a dedicated team of actual analysts that are just solely looking at your portfolio and seeing those trends happening. And that's a fully interactive solution. If there's anything that is so egregious that we don't even want to put it in the portal, we'll just pick up the phone and tell you, hey, you've got a case on your hand. You need to look at this right now because there's something really, really bad. So it's really that interactive service that we try to provide here. All of this sounds great, but it's obviously in the form in this webinar on the slide deck. And so one thing that we thought was relevant to highlight as well is that, what are actual customers thinking of the solution? So as David said, we did this industry-wide survey of both customers of LegitScript, but also customers of other service providers, and basically asked them, to rate their merchant monitoring service providers. As David said just a moment ago, the average rating of an MMSP in the industry was 7.9. However, when you look at LegitScript's own clients, that rating actually goes up to 9.2. We were very delighted and also partly surprised that we just get a very, very high response rate when it comes to whether people are happy with our solution or not. And what we also did, we went a step further and we asked people, okay, can you give an explanation for your findings? And maybe just to pick up on a few, is that, you know, people were commenting on things like the scope or the trends that we are picking up on for them within the merchant monitoring solution. So they would tell us things like, you know, you provide an all-encompassing monitoring service that is also very proactive for emerging industries and sectors that may be considered increased risk. I think a great example of that is the COVID pandemic that we saw, that everybody saw, obviously saw happening earlier this year. But for us, that meant a new risk trend, a new thing we picked up on. And for at least the first couple of weeks in March and April, we were boots on the ground with an exclusive focus on combating the illegal trends that were quickly unfolding. We saw non-delivery schemes, we saw price gouging, we saw unapproved treatments for COVID popping up left and right. We saw FDA regulations coming down. We saw FTC violations coming down. We adapted to that as one of the earliest in the industry. As a matter of fact, we already started monitoring for this before it came to the shores of the US. And for that first 5 weeks, we really spent the majority of our time protecting our clients from this new type of risk that wasn't present before. But they also commented on, you know, the human analysis touch. You know, they're thorough, knowledgeable, don't oversell themselves, provide a high quality, consistent, high quality deliverable, and super responsive. Well, that's one thing that we, I think, pride ourselves on at LegitScript. We don't just do it once. We seek to provide that consistent quality in every deliverable that we give out, no matter if it's, you know, today, 2 months from now, a year from now. The quality is consistently high. Data and intel, an industry leader in data collection and intel collection, a good understanding of online criminal networks. One thing that we don't often highlight at LegitScript is that for our merchant monitoring clients that use our service, we actually provide them with periodic reports, whether that's quarterly or once per half year. We give them an overview of the trends, the risk and violation trends that we see occurring throughout the industry, to say, hey, from all of the clients that we serve, these are the trends that we're seeing. We're seeing enforcement on things like Microsoft OEM products. We see enforcement on Lego intellectual property infringements. We see enforcement on COVID or pharmaceuticals. And we basically connect that with the risk trends that we're seeing within a client's portfolio. So within your portfolio, what are the upticks? What are we seeing and what are we picking up on? These day-to-day notifications are great, but every quarter or every half year, we provide a high-level overview of your risk profile that is uniquely for your portfolio. And then the overall service, they've been simply excellent, always available with short notice to provide support. Sincerely can't think of a single thing that they need to improve. You know, obviously that sounds almost too positive, but it is true of what we're hearing from some of our clients that say that, look, there's simply nothing like LegitScript. They're so knowledgeable, they're so well informed, and just have this unique perspective to inform us and educate us about the risk that we're seeing in our portfolio and help us safeguard from, you know, possible MasterCard, Visa, regulatory violations, and truly are that compliance partner that we needed throughout all these years. So with that being said, I'll punt it back over to you, David.
Awesome. Thanks, Martin. If you have any questions, type them in the questions tab right now, and we'll try to get to a couple of them. I see that we've got a couple right now, so we'll give the rest of you just a minute or two if any of you have any more. As Martin said, don't take our word for it. Let us prove to you that LegitScript really is the fix to merchant monitoring that you've been looking for. Go to legitscript.com/free reviews to sign up for 3 free merchant reviews. You'll get to see from your own portfolio how LegitScript effectively eliminates false positives, gives you actionable intelligence, digs deep to identify relevant data, and provides you with the access to experts that you deserve. Again, that's legitscript.com/free-reviews. And this offer is limited just to the first 5 eligible companies who sign up. Now, let's see if you've got some questions. We may not be able to get to all of them. And Martin, let me throw this first one to you. The question is, do you offer MasterCard and Visa amnesty?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are a merchant monitoring service provider that is recognized by MasterCard for their brand risk mitigation program. So we offer all of our clients the option to enroll in that formal program, to register LegitScript as being their MMSP. And of course, I can't speak for MasterCard, but there's clear guidelines about the risk mitigation within that program that they provide. So you can read more about that in the MasterCard portal if you have access to it, or see MasterCard directly or your sponsor bank. Visa, from what we know, again, I can't speak for Visa, of course, but they don't have a similar program from our understanding. However, LegitScript is a recognized merchant monitoring service provider with Visa as well. And if LegitScript is the merchant monitoring service provider in question, there is, it's being treated as any merchant monitoring service provider. And there, you really need to see Visa for details on the potential risk mitigation and fine mitigation that may be available there.
Thanks, Martin. I see a couple questions about seeing the interface. That's something we'd be happy to follow up with anyone who is interested. Just because of the brevity of this webinar, we didn't get into the actual specifics of the interface and the program. I think we've got time for one last question. How does your monitoring handle repeat monitoring hits? Martin, is that one you can answer?
Yeah, for sure. So one thing that we do is we notify you about a potential risk or violation within your portfolio. One thing that we didn't have time to go over is the feedback loop that you can then take. Is that for any single violation that we point out to you, you can let us know how you dealt with that. And that is especially important when you enroll in things like the MasterCard program to clearly denote what you did with that notification from us. And so you can typically let us know if you cleared it or if you terminated the merchant or chose something in the middle, like you sent a notification or a warning to the merchant in question. So give them 30 days, for example. Now, if you terminate that merchant and you let us know, we won't keep notifying you about that violation. If you clear that violation and essentially say, hey, thank you very much, but we're actually fine with this type of risk, then we don't keep notifying you about that same violation we pointed out. But instead, if we pick up on any other risk or any new developments with that merchant, we will notify you again about that. So there's an active feedback loop. And beyond that, of course, there is the interaction that you can have with our team to adjust that wherever necessary.
Thanks, Martin. I see a couple of other questions. In the interest of time, we will follow up with you after this webinar. Thanks for everyone who asked a question. From Martin and LegitScript team, on behalf of all of them, thank you so much for joining us today. Take advantage of those merchant reviews if you'd like. And if you have any other questions, please reach out to us at legitscript.com/contact. Thanks so much for your time. Good day.